Hi again, friends. It's me, Abigail the Miniature Pincher, back with another exciting adventure. After our amazing longtail boat trip on the Mekong River, Kai and I were still buzzing with excitement. But guess what? The very next day, we decided to switch things up and go on a mountain trip. The contrast of the peaceful river and the towering mountains was so thrilling, and this trip turned out to be just as fun and full of surprises. Let me tell you all about it. Early the next morning, Kai and I packed up our gear and set off for the mountains. I could sense the adventure in the air. It was cool and fresh, with the promise of a whole new landscape to explore. As we drove toward the mountains, I looked out the window, my paws resting on the sill. The tall, green peaks got closer and closer, and I felt my tail wagging in excitement. The mountains were unlike anything I had ever seen. They were massive, covered in thick forests, and seemed to stretch up into the sky forever. Kai told me we were going to hike up to a viewpoint where we could see the whole valley below. I couldn't wait to explore those winding trails. We arrived at the trailhead, and the moment I hopped out of the car, I was ready to go. The air was crisp and clean, filled with the scent of pine trees and earth. I sniffed around excitedly while Kai adjusted her backpack. The trail ahead of us wound its way up the mountain, with trees lining both sides and birds chirping from the branches above. As we started our hike, I trotted along happily, my nose leading the way. Every now and then, I would stop to investigate something interesting, like a pile of leaves or a squirrel that darted up a tree. The path was a little steep, but that just made it more exciting. I bounded up the trail with my usual energy, while Kai followed behind, laughing at my enthusiasm. As we hiked deeper into the forest, the sounds of nature surrounded us. The rustling of the leaves, the calls of distant birds, and even the sound of a small stream trickling nearby created a peaceful yet lively atmosphere. I kept my ears perked up, listening to everything around me. At one point, we came across a small clearing where I spotted a family of deer grazing quietly. They were so graceful, and I stood still for a moment, just watching them. The deer glanced at us but didn't seem too bothered by our presence. It felt like we were guests in their world, and I was thrilled to be a part of it. As we continued up the mountain, the trail became steeper, but that only made it more exciting. I loved the challenge of climbing over rocks and ducking under branches. Kai and I made a great team. Every time the path got tough, she'd cheer me on, and I'd run ahead to scout the way. The higher we climbed, the cooler the air became, and I could feel the breeze ruffling my fur. About halfway up, we stopped for a little rest. Kai pulled out a snack for herself, and I got a special treat, a chewy bone that I happily gnawed on while sitting next to her. We sat there for a few minutes, enjoying the view of the forest below and listening to the wind as it rustled through the trees. It was so peaceful, yet I could feel the excitement of what was still to come. After a bit more hiking, we finally reached the viewpoint. And oh, what a view it was! The trees opened up, and in front of us was a wide, breathtaking panorama of the valley below. I could see the Mekong River winding through the landscape in the distance, and the mountains stretched out as far as my eyes could see. The sky was a bright, clear blue, and the sun was just starting to dip toward the horizon, casting a warm golden light over everything. Kai sat down on a large rock, and I plopped down beside her, panting happily. We both just took in the beauty of the moment, the peacefulness, the vastness, the feeling of being on top of the world. It was amazing to think that just the day before, we had been down by the river, and now here we were, high up in the mountains, looking down at it all. After soaking in the view for a while, Kai and I decided to explore the ridge. There were more trails that led along the mountain, and I was eager to keep adventuring. We walked along the edge, where the ground dropped away to reveal the valley below. The breeze was stronger up here, and I loved how it made my ears flap as I trotted along. At one point, we came across a small, rocky outcrop, and I scrambled up to the top to get an even better view. From there, I could see even more of the surrounding mountains. It was like a never-ending sea of green, stretching out in every direction. I barked happily. This was what adventure was all about. As the sun began to set, it was time to start our descent back down the mountain. The trail down was just as fun as the way up, with more chances to hop over rocks and weave through the trees. The golden light of the setting sun made everything look even more magical, and the forest seemed to glow with warmth. By the time we reached the bottom, the sky was starting to turn pink and purple. Kai and I were both tired but happy. It had been an incredible day. We climbed into the car, and as we drove away, I looked out the window at the mountains one last time, feeling grateful for the amazing adventure we had just experienced. Our mountain trip was the perfect follow-up to our Mekong River adventure. From the peaceful forest trails to the breathtaking viewpoint at the top, it was a day full of excitement, beauty, and discovery. I may be small, but I love big adventures, and this mountain hike was one I'll never forget. So, whether it's a river or a mountain, I'm always ready for the next big adventure with Kai. Until next time, friends, keep exploring and enjoying the wonders of the world. See you, friends. Love, Abigail.